Hello and welcome. My name is Danielle,
And I'm Rada.
and we're here today to follow up on our last video with what is a star seed? In this video, we are going to discuss some informal popcorn shares as to what these terms mean and how you can use them in your everyday life. So today's term is going to be earth angels. We do realize that some of these topics might be a little touchy or offensive to those who are unfamiliar or haven't done any sort of shadow work, or if it's just, overall, I don't know, just a topic that people get triggered by. So, our apologies in advance. We're not trying to offend anybody, but it's not our intention to shame. So, with that being said, we do understand the importance of these topics. And Earth Angels is sweet, in my opinion, but for some, it might not be. And in order to fully understand these topics and how sacred that they are, it's important to understand what the opposites and the terms and etc. So diving into this today, Rada, I want to welcome you, and it's such a pleasure to have you as usual.
Thank you. So happy to be here. Hello, everyone.
Yay. And we dove into what is a starseed last time. So this is kind of fun because I do feel a strong resonance with what an earth angel is. And the truth is, when I look at the terms and what is, posted all over the internet and just our general, when we have conversations, um, what these terms mean to us personally, there is a lot of similarity between starseed and an earth angel. So with that being said, I do want to lead into something that I feel is really important, and that is helping others. I feel like with Earth Angels, it's always really important. And it's actually a priority because they're natural givers, just like in an empath and a starseed. Wouldn't you say so, Rada? Because I feel like it's very similar in some ways to a starseed.
I definitely feel the overlapping there. I think what makes it similar is that there's this higher feeling of connection to the higher realm, and
Mhm.
this pouring through of these crystal codes really coming,
Yeah,
it's the opposite of the inversion. And so if we're in the opposite of the inversion, which is like sucking, taking, vampirism, all that stuff, the opposite would be giving, being of service, thinking about humanity as a whole rather than just my individual needs being met all the time. So an earth
right.
angel, I think an earth angel, like they will not be able to see an animal that is on the side of the road that needs to eat and walk, or on the sidewalk and walk by it without being like, what can I do to make sure this animal's okay or finds a home? I think there's a draw towards like children, babies, like um not a protective the desire to be a protector, to the innocent, to the sacred.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like they see the good in everyone. Just, I mean, again, like a starseed, but they do see a lot of good in everything. It could be animals, people, groups. They love and respect individuality. So that could be the good and the bad, and so everything in between. And it's very important for an Earth Angel to have boundaries. And I think sometimes we do have a tendency to be such a people pleaser, like, okay, we want, to make everyone happy. But, you know, that tendency to avoid conflict could really be a disservice. But that is a big flag, in my opinion, when it comes to Earth Angels. And it's
Mhm.
not a bad thing. It's just something to look out for because it is a little um it can be disenchanting for an earth angel to experience that because there's a little bit of pain and suffering that they normally wouldn't feel because they're so used to, vibing high and in that higher frequency and then they're like, coming down to this level of like, am I good enough? Did I do something wrong? Is everything okay? And you're like, okay, calm down. So
Level of innocence
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
there's innocence and that
Yeah. I
um
like that.
what so something I've helped people release before is like the blinders. Because Earth Angels, we also have blinders on because we really want to see, we put our rose-colored glasses and we want to see the best in all. We really do like potentiality. We often see gifts in people or I think that's something that we can easily spot the gifts, the attributes, the beauty in somebody really quickly. And
Yeah.
so we're like, well, they shouldn't, be going down that path, and how can we help them in, get back on their divine path or whatever. So there is that. But there is this spark of innocence. And I think, some people call it naivety. And I would say that Earth Angels do have that as well, because in order to sometimes continue to see the best in the world and people and have hope for humanity, there is that little spark of naivety. It's not ignorance, okay? There's a big difference. It's just that innocence, that there is an innocence inside that cannot die even if they've been crushed, even if they've been crushed by 2 tons of weight, they will bounce back and be like, okay, well, they'll find a silver lining. That was rough, oh, but at least I learned this and I don't have to do it again. Like there is that little bounce. They know how to bounce back from a lot of things in life. And that doesn't mean that they don't go through dark periods of sadness and grief. Um, I think Earth Angels actually feel they're just like starseeds where their empathy is huge. So
Right.
therefore they're very feeling beings. Their emotions are like it's a top tier quality, for Earth Angels. Like that's part of the prerequisite is you have to be able to feel to heal. So
Yeah.
what do you think, Danielle?
Yeah, and they day I feel like they daydream a lot too, actually. Like it kind of ties into what you were saying because they see these possibilities and they see it into others, into themselves. And so there's always this like, element of like, you know, almost like daydreaming, like, hey, are you there? Like, come back to reality, because they're often in their higher chakras or whatever you want to say. Like
Yeah.
and it's so true. It can be really difficult for them to be grounded, I feel. And it's almost difficult too in a way to focus on self because you're always thinking of others or you do focus. I feel like at a certain point you do mature, not to say that those that don't aren't mature, but like you do evolve into a place where you're like working on the self-worthiness and self-love and but the focus a lot of the times is always of being like a little bit more of service. It's just natural, you're like, hey, I just want to take care of my people and sometimes it's just difficult because this world is so physical that they're not, that energy, it's just not used to the physical body. It's like, you know, it's
Yeah,
they're very
there can be disconnect. So I'm hearing what you're saying. Disconnect. What?
sorry.
You just like went into another dimension. That's pretty cool.
Keep happening. Sorry, it's this ring light. Obviously, it's time for a new one because it just keeps going out on me.
So yeah, I think what the space cadet is because at some
There we
core
go.
level, like Earth Angels do dream about realms that are so much higher. I mean, let's just be blunt. There is a daydreamer inside of them. I think they're the kids at school that look out the window and they're on a different plane of existence. So it's hard because like they know like what is possible. They know actually our birthright. So Earth Angels are in touch with
Mhm.
the promise of the divine. They know what our capability is as humanity, and they get very disenchanted sometimes when they realize that we're not on our trajectory. And so I think Earth Angels can also be they could be prone to depression because they're so like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and wanting to be of service, and then a lot of times people take that kindness for weakness. And
Right.
instead of honoring the goodness of their heart, they use that as a weapon against them. So
Yeah.
I think they do get manipulated a lot, and they have to learn to toughen up and to not to be hard, because that's not the point, but to have a backbone, learn to
Hmm.
say no, and also over and over again saying that, hey, everyone needs to have their experience. If they need to experience that suffering, that's what they need, that's what their soul contracted for. It's not that if we could help them, we can help them, but if they also want to keep repeating those patterns, at some point you're just like, you know um that's going to be on you to work through. Let me know when, like, I'm here for you, but I'm not going to be picking you up and saving you, because it does no service to save when we're here to learn. So earth angels actually have to learn that, they have to learn too, but this is a school that
Yeah.
everyone's learning, and that it's not their job to save everyone, fix everything. That we have to allow people to show up for themselves and people to show up for other people, and we have to learn how to sometimes not give as much and receive more. That's also a big earth angel thing. But naturally you'll always be drawn to like a charity, or you will want to like feed all the animals in your neighborhood. You're going to want to do something that's in active pursuit of everyone, and even if it's not humans, if it's animals, of them being, in a good place.
Yeah. They definitely have a big mission, just like a starseed. And I feel like, I like how you touched on the fact that they're, in some cases, a lot of the times perceived incorrectly. People will think that they're, weak, and you're ultimately like, no, actually they're pretty strong beings. They're just,
Mm,
I don't know, it's just interesting. They could be targets for people who are just of low frequency, such as narcissists, psychopaths,
yeah.
and a lot of times they're empaths too. So they feel so deeply. So you tie everything into, the empath, the earth angel, and maybe they have fragments of a star seed. So it's like, whoa, and it's just interesting because they can be sensitive to the brashness of our world, but that doesn't mean that they don't have the strength, because ultimately these lessons and things that they overcome strengthen them. It gives courage, it gives wisdom, and ultimately it transforms them into a very empathetic being with so much wisdom. And you're like, wow, like I was able to transmute this and alchemize it, and now here I am as a living testament. And you walk away with, your head held high, but not as in like I'm better than you, but in a way that's like, I'm here to help now. What can I do? How can I serve you? What is it? And what is I can do to make things better and brighter? And a lot of times they walk away with so much optimism. You're like, how is it you're so happy and always smiling? And you're like, why? Life's great. And that's that light that's shining. So it's generally like there are pillars, and it's meant to be, you know, um, a safe space for people to heal too, and there's an element and a frequency that allows people to feel safe and supported and nurtured and comforted. And and alternatively, like there's just a unique perspective in return that people are like, oh, it helps people see things from a different perspective and gives people hope, and it supports them and encourages them. So it's such a beautiful energy. I really love the idea of what value a earth angel brings, and equally a star seed. And I know I keep bringing up the star seed even though we're talking about earth angel. It's just because I really feel that they're so uniquely closely tied together. There's a lot we can touch on, and it's, just a short amount of time of us speaking today, but I do appreciate, um everything that you bring to light through the books, Rada, with the Awakening Star Seeds. And I know one day we're looking to do a book about the Earth Angels. So could you tell us a little bit about that and the trajectory of what you have in mind? Because I know that's something a lot of people do resonate with. And, I would love for people to know that we are, connected to the angelic realm. And that's something that, we would love to bring forth into humanity as far as any
I,
message.
I think that a lot of people have connection to angels, and not to be mistaken with fallen. Uh,
Correct.
like I collect angel things. I love angel wings. Like you might like angel wings all the time. Even in our healings, we go up to the heart of the creator, into that angelic space. Like you just feel at home with that
Mhm.
energy. Um, and I think that even if earth angels have been through a lot, they carry optimism because they know that the creator has guaranteed that the future is bright, and that we may be seeing and be in the middle of the darkest of days, but that won't stop anyone from believing and moving forward and doing everything that we can in the smallest of ways to make those ripples. And one of the ways I do that is with the collaborative books. I really believe in the power of the voice, the power of our soul coming through the voice of our soul. That to me is vital. It's vital because we anchor in something when we create these books. They're not just ordinary books. They may feel it, look at, but they're divinely encoded, and we always call forward. I ask the angels actually to help me find the authors. I call forward those that are meant to be in the projects to come forward. And we have these divine soul contracts that we make before we even incarnate, and that we fulfill our divine mission when we say yes and show up to these projects. They are presented, and then we always find like ways that we try to get out of them, like, oh, I don't know, no, no, no. But then people, when you show up, and you show up and you give in that way of yourself, you're participating in this bigger angelic project, and so we support the voices of star seeds, people who are earth angels. There's so many, and I want to know more of them. There's so many earth angels on earth. I One of my favorite shows is like Dodo on YouTube, and anytime I feel sad, I just watch it, and I see how people pick up these animals that have been discarded, and they bring them back to life. They save them, they heal them, they show them that there's love, and that they can trust, because these animals have been so hurt by humans, betrayed. And so, I always think when I see somebody being really good to an animal, I know they're an earth angel, because it's that heart, it's that soul, connection to creator. Creator is a God spark that's in all of us, and especially in babies and animals and children. And so those that support the ones that that don't have a voice, to me those are really powerful earth angels. But they come in every form. They work at the hospitals, they work in science labs, like they work in so many. They're teachers, and there are good in every faction. So I really want to say thank you to anyone who's doing something out there of value, and to help out in any way. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be working at a restaurant or anything, and if you smile at somebody, if you're giving your light, you're being of service. And we all have our bad days. Some days we're like, I don't feel like it today, but um some days we feel a little more hormonal than others, but the truth is we continue to bounce
Mhm.
back.
Yeah.
Um, Today was a horrible day, tomorrow's going to be better. And it's that kind of optimism that we refuse to give up. Earth angels, but earth angels can be drawn to very dark situations. They go to dark places, actually. So I want to really let you know, like, if you're just living a perfect life and you've never been touched by dark, that doesn't mean you're an earth angel. Sometimes earth angels go into the darkest realms. They go into dark, abusive relationships. They go into darkness for many reasons. One is that they're understanding the humanity, human, process, the crisis, the heartbreak. They're understanding the great depths of pain, because in the higher realms we don't feel that. We don't have body aches, emotional breakdowns, we don't have heartaches. Like, we just don't have those problems that we have here. We don't have lack issues. We have abundance of love and healing and prosperity. It's just part of our God-given birthright. This place is a whole different story. But so earth angels go into those places and they actually bring light to darkness. So we can't judge people when they experience darkness. We don't know why, and we don't like, oh, that was a stupid decision. They had to go there to bring light to that situation. You don't know. It's not our job to judge why they did what they did. Right, Danielle?
Right. Yeah, I actually can very much relate to that. I love that you brought that topic up because sometimes it could be really scary when you are naturally in that space of darkness and you're like, wow, this is your time to step into your leadership and really own, the truth of your truth. And okay, this is who you are, let's do this. And it can be very scary. So yeah, if you're going through something like that in any nature, whether it's an abusive relationship, hard times financially, or maybe you're in a situation you don't want to be in, or that you got into, and you're like, oh my gosh, why is this happening? There is a silver lining, and the reality of whom you are is going to bring so much light that you're not even ever going to, in some cases, even know how it benefits people. And so that's what's so interesting is, it's even a mystery to the earth angel themselves. Sometimes, you walk away and you're like, well, what was the point of that? And you're like, that was hard. And then you're like, well, I learned this. And you go through your self-reflection and you tell your story or you talk about it, and then you move on, and it's like 2 months later, it's like, oh yeah, I remember a month ago when I was going through this, and now this is happening.
Exactly. It kind of goes by
About it.
like, it's like the earth angels do go through really intense things, and they can be really fast, or it's like a cycle. Yeah, but they're going in to learn something. There is something that they need to receive from that situation. I think we'll talk about it in another video, but touching on the domestic abuse thing, I think we both had situations like that. But what I can say is that on the other side of that, um, you learn compassion, like, oh my gosh, this stuff really happens. Like, you never really think it happens until it happens to you. You just don't. It's like, oh yeah, whatever, I've heard of that before, but it doesn't hit you in any place. You don't feel it because it doesn't feel real to you. So earth angels will go into those kinds of situations because they need to gather intel, information, um compassion, and then they can do something with it. They might write about it, they might go volunteer. I remember I did some volunteer work at some women's shelters, and like, it really made them so happy that someone cared. And it's hard to believe how much of a difference you can make, and you might just be like, oh, it's no big deal. But it is a big deal. It's a big deal to the people you're helping. And
Mhm.
so it's just important to know that, like, you didn't come here just to be trashed on earth, but you went into these dark situations so you could gather intel, you could learn, you could get more compassionate. Again, it's information, right? Everything is information. Experiences are information. That data, we can utilize it to do something really great. And I hope that Danielle and I have talked about, like, volunteering again at different places, and I've been putting that out there into the universe, that the right place will come about in the right situation. But yeah, there are so many opportunities as an earth angel, and the most important thing is that you never give up, because some earth angels get depressed. They are
Yeah.
like, this isn't what I imagined. This is way harder, and I don't feel like my life's going anywhere, and I want to give up. I want to quit. I want to go back to heaven. Like
Yeah.
that's the truth, and sometimes earth angels give up, and I know that it's hard. It's not always easy here.
Yeah.
It's very, very hard for many reasons. You may not have food on the table, and you will have problems because you're hungry. You may have food on the table, but you have emotional turmoil, and that's heavy, or financial. So this world is a place of great mastery, and we can all learn so much. So
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Rada. That's actually, I'm really glad that you brought up the volunteer part, because that is actually a thing about Earth Angels is they have such a big heart. They're like, okay, yeah, how can I be of service? But they're also very giving with their time, their energy. They're usually actually the family member that people call and they're like, hey, can I vent to? And then once you learn boundaries, you're kind of like, okay, well, now it's not a good time. But you realize like, oh wow, like, okay, even the words that sometimes come out of your mouth, it's almost like you channel this inner, because you've been through it, but you're almost operating on a higher level, that it's like, oh, where'd that come, like I knew that, but that just came out. And it's like you say things that need to be said at the right time, even if it's to a complete stranger. There's been so many times that I've spoke with somebody and the weirdest things come out of my mouth. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's almost like you're channeling information. I'm like, why did I say that? Like, thank you. I needed to hear that. The timing was just right. And I'm like, oh, okay. And like, it makes you happy because you're like, okay, then I followed my intuition. And that's another thing with Earth Angels. Like, the more you're in tune with your intuition, the better, because you're going to be connecting to your higher self source. And it's such a beautiful feeling. Um, the the mindset too of an earth angel is really important to nurture as well, because that self-soothing and mindset is really really going to help strengthen that overwhelmed feeling that you have when it comes to depression, or like when you're going through some hard times, because the sensitivity is deep, guys. I mean, we're talking some really deep rooted sensitivity. And I feel the more you're able to nurture yourself and really comfort yourself and have that stronger mindset, the more fierceness you have as an earth angel. You're almost become like a warrior. Yeah, it's
yeah,
really cool.
gotta get your Archangel Michael sword out and say,
Yeah.
and earth angels stand for justice. So as you develop your inner fortitude and boundaries and learning to say no lovingly, um you can get out your sword. So there are different levels that we can ascend to, and one of them is like, being an advocate, standing up for people who need your help, need a voice. I think it's so powerful. I love Archangel Michael. I love the sword. I love it's just so beautiful. And the earth angels are connected to the angelic realm. So our prayers are really powerful too. I love to pray. And actually when my dog, that she just passed away because she's been very old, but when she was a baby, I got her and she was like this big. She was so tiny, and I got her from the pound, and she was kind of like I think she already died, and I was carrying her home. It was in LA, and I put her in my shirt because she was so small. I wanted her next to my heart, and
Mhm.
all of a sudden I feel her go cold, and I'm like, oh my god, what's going on? I'm in the freeway, the 101. And I just called upon the angels, and I said, please, like, I will take such good care of this little girl. Please just like let her revive her, like, please carry her home, take care of her. And I really thought she was, I got kind of freaked out because I was like driving, I couldn't take her out, and I got home and she was still like, she was unconscious. And I fed her, right? I fed her, I tried to give her some food, and she survived, and not only did she survive, she thrived. She was, not looking like it was gonna happen for her, but I believe the angels did come in, and I really prayed with my heart, and I think there is something beautiful about prayer. We love to pray. It's just so healing and soothing, and it brings so much healing to anyone involved, and there's so much power in prayer. And I have talked about it earlier, like, it's not like, there's different kinds of prayer, like, but the most important thing is, earth angels is like connecting to your heart with
Mhm,
with humility. It's
mhm.
not that we're just like, oh, I'm praying for like a mansion, like, and it's like you have to actually feel like, to say, or you can have expansion. Like, I'd like a bigger space, and this, you know what I mean? Like, but you're not gonna be praying, like, it has to be from your heart. Like, I
Right.
want a space so that I can dance and I can move. And this is why, because there's a deeper purpose, not just because I want to look like a baller, because I want to express myself. So when prayers are coming in any way, or I wish for these animals to have food or whatever, I want someone to get healthy, it's always coming from the heart. The heart is the core of everything that we do, and everything that an earth angel does is heart centered. So just like
Mhm.
conversations from the heart, right?
Thank you for bringing that up. It's so funny. It didn't even cross my mind to mention that, but it's so true. Everything is from the heart. I mean, it's literally the cornerstone of my YouTube channel. So, yeah, it's very special, and I do feel like when you're operating from that heart space, again, prayers are very important. I agree with everything you had mentioned on that. And nature has a way of connecting with you in a deeper way. Um I don't know what it is. Like anytime I go out in nature, I mean, it's not that angels, it's not that the animals come to me per se, but when I get near them, they feel safe.
Yeah.
And in fact, they sometimes like walk with me. I've had a hummingbird literally walk like hum up to my face, butterflies, caterpillars. I mean, they come to you, but they come in a such a gentle way. And it's not like, even if I kind of flinch, they still stay. They don't freak out. They're like, hi, and it's interesting energy um to be able to be kind of like engaging with, because even me, I'm innocent about it, like, oh my gosh, ah! And then, you know what I mean? You're like, oh gosh, there's a caterpillar on my shoulder. And you feel like I'm gonna like my first, even if like I don't know why, it's just I never have an instinct to like kill it, you know what I mean? So it's like it's kind of interesting how it's really, like you said, sweet and innocent in a way, but it's not a naive. It's very much just in tune with the heart, in tune with creator, and there's so much beauty I feel in um that type of energy, as well as you know like children really kind of emulate, I feel, naturally that earth angel energy, whether they are one or not. But the point is there's a playfulness and a
Mm,
sense of like the innocence, but the playfulness is a big thing too, I feel, with the earth angels. They're almost kind of like, sometimes they can appear to be younger, kind of like us, but they have this like youthfulness flow, and you're like, what are you doing? And you're like, well, I'm happy, no drama, like drink my water, get my sleep. I don't know what to tell you. It's in,
like,
DNA of
connecting to source
us.
keeps you young. I think connecting to source keeps you young. It can really revitalize your body. It can
Yeah.
revitalize your heart, mind, body, and soul. And I think those things, it's hard to hide. It's hard to hide what's going on in your soul. And I think that it's getting harder and harder because
Mhm.
people that were able to hide that stuff, it's actually, the veil's thinning. So whatever's going on in here, it's going to be known. There's no more, like, right now you cannot really be pretentious. Like, you cannot hide, behind these masks. And our true essence is really coming forward, and earth angels will only enhance. Their true essence is only going to enhance. And just like star seeds, I think earth angels have been really misunderstood. Like,
Mhm.
being kind, like a lot of times people get back, you get backlash, like, oh, like in LA, I used to be like really kind and say hi to people and smile. And a lot of times they'd be like, like really upset and offended that I was like making contact with them. Sorry. Like, I hope you have a great day, like that's for real. So, I mean, unless you're like on a red carpet, you're like, hi, this is who I am. Who are you? But, like, other than that, like, other than that, like, if it was just, like, on the you're on the sidewalk, they get, like, literally offended. So, it's really funny, but people get suspicious if you're,
Yeah,
they get
you're so
suspicious. I've
right.
had people get suspicious of my kindness, and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Okay, if that's how you wanna take it. I'm not always that nice." But, I mean, that was, like, a genuine thing, you know?
Uh,
Like,
yeah, I've
and
experienced that
it's a
as well.
genuine thing. Like, if I'm reaching out, it's because it's genuine. Like, I think we want relationships that are of any kind, that are going to be a win-win. That's the mentality of earth angels, like win-win. We want
Right.
everyone to win in this game, because that's our wish for humanity, is that we
Yeah,
can win this level, we can all move up together. Hey, that sounds good to me.
exactly. Aw, I love this topic. I
Yeah.
want to thank you, Rada, for being here. I mean, it's just so fun always connecting with you and talking on these topics. Sometimes when I look back at these and I'm like, oh, I should have, mentioned this or that. But I do believe everything's mentioned when it's as it ought to be mentioned during the time that we're here together. So before we head out, is there any final words you want to say? Because I feel like I've kind of
Oh,
said what
no,
I
I'm
say, but yeah,
happy. Yeah, I'm really happy to connect with you all, and I hope that you'll also comment. I really love it. I'd love to hear more from our audience and to hear more feedback. Do you feel like you're an earth angel? Have you had any angelic experiences? Do you believe in angels? Let us
yeah.
know. We want to hear from you. So please give us some of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. You matter, and what you have to say has to matter. So until next time, much love and blessings to you all. Bye for now.